In that same region of the country, a couple law enforcement officers had seen glowing orbs a few hundred feet above the ground, a few miles away. In one of these instances...
Wait, if it's a few miles away, how do they know it was a few hundred feet above the ground?
He was estimating based on height above trees.
This is 4 inches above Marty's Deli.
Yes.
That's what this sounds like.
That's exactly
right.
Okay.
Spheres that kind of had like obviously a force field, but a shimmering effect. So was that some form of stealth? I'm not sure what that. We had a lot of reports of these fiery, spheres by witnesses, and we heard it enough that it was quite common to us. And I remember our scientists trying to figure out why did they have that appearance? What could be the reason for it?
Orb-like UFO sightings have been one of the most mysterious parts of the UAP phenomenon, in my opinion. Some describe them as plasma balls, or even ordinary ball lightning, while others see them as something we have no idea about, something unexplainable. Reports of glowing spheres go back decades, most famously during World War II, when pilots described mysterious Foo Fighters that followed their aircraft. Since then, fiery orbs have been witnessed hovering, darting, and disappearing in ways that remain unexplained, keeping them being debated by the UAP community. Now, I just want to say I want to get into the military Orb UAP sightings first, mostly because I feel they are the most credible and wouldn't have any reason to lie about their encounter. Then I will get into other details about why Orb UAP sightings are weird and some of my own personal encounters with Orb UAPs. But until then, I'm going to be covering military UAP sightings with orbs. In 2016, during a US military reconnaissance mission over Mosul, Iraq, an MC-12 surveillance aircraft captured a short 4-second video of a strange object. The footage, later leaked and shown by journalist Jeremy Corbell, shows a perfectly round metallic sphere moving slowly over the city. The object appears small, roughly 1 to 4 feet in diameter, and completely featureless, with no visible propulsion, wings, or exhaust. What made the footage anomalous was its context. This was not a civilian video, but an official military recording from a classified environment. The Department of Defense later confirmed the video as authentic and classified it as a UAP to Jeremy Corbell. However, the DoD's UAP office, Arrow, has not confirmed the video. But that doesn't surprise me, honestly, as in my opinion they are a disinformation/misinformation campaign office from the Pentagon. Even if some of the employees are doing good work, that is what they are in my opinion. Some of the past directors have lied and honestly run me the wrong way. But anyways, the anomalies go beyond what you can actually see. Analysts who reviewed the video noted that the sphere appeared to drift or move in a way inconsistent with the wind at the time. Even though the object does not seem to be moving fast relative to the camera, it still appears to go against the wind direction and speed measured during the mission. The math on its flight path doesn't add up, and it has no wings, no rotors, and no obvious balloon strings, yet a steady, controlled motion. Combined with its perfectly spherical metallic look and lack of explanation years later, the Mosul Orb is still to this day an anomaly and is considered a UAP by the military as sent to Jeremy Corbell. Now, this was a very interesting encounter that I wanted to cover in this as well, because it's still unidentified and it has some very weird movements, according to some analysts. So I just thought I would put it in here because it's very anomalous. Now, this Orb UAP sighting is very interesting to me as well because it's over the ocean. The ocean has been a hotspot for UAPs before, and that's why we have a new name for them, USOs, otherwise known as Unidentified Submerged Objects. So I thought I'd put this one in here, and this video as well, and it's unexplained. So let's get into it. In July of 2019, the USS Omaha, a US Navy combat ship, was conducting routine operations off the coast of San Diego, California. During the mission, the ship's radar and tracking systems picked up several unidentified objects in the surrounding airspace. These objects were unusual because they did not behave like normal aircraft or drones. They moved in ways that were very unusual, appeared and disappeared on radar, and sometimes traveled at very high speeds, moving back and forth, and a couple of other things. Among these objects, one stood out in particular, a perfectly spherical, unidentified object that the crew later tracked visually using the ship's infrared camera systems. The video shows the spherical orb hovering over the water at night, moving back and forth, clearly visible in the infrared display. At one point, the sphere appears to drop directly into the ocean, creating what seemed like a splash on the thermal camera. The operators on the ship were very shocked because even though it looked like the object entered the water, there was no wake, debris, or disturbance that would normally occur if a physical object crashed into the sea. The sudden disappearance of the orb left the crew very confused, and they immediately began scanning the area for any other signs of the object, but no luck. Meanwhile, the radar data revealed that the USS Omaha was not just observing a single anomaly. Multiple UAPs were detected in the vicinity, some moving at extremely high speeds and performing maneuvers that seemed impossible for conventional aircraft. The combination of radar returns and infrared video made the incident really compelling, because it provided two independent sources confirming unusual activity in the same area. The presence of multiple unknown objects suggested that the sphere might have been part of a larger phenomenon rather than an isolated incident. Okay, so yes, I know a lot of people, including myself, have their doubts regarding this certain show, as they are most likely doing it to get the money out of it. But that being said, I think Skinwalker Ranch has captured some weird footage from time to time, and this footage is one of them. An orb-like object captured on film during the daytime by the Skinwalker Ranch crew. This is the encounter. In The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch Season 4, Episode 12, the team captured one of the most mysterious moments ever recorded on the show in my opinion. An orb-like UAP appearing to move in and out of the mesa. During one of their nighttime investigations, Brandon Fugel, Dr. Travis Taylor, and Eric Brad were focusing on the strange activity near the mesa, a large rocky ridge that has long been the center of unexplained lights and magnetic readings. They set up multiple cameras, drones, and instruments to monitor the area. As they watched, one of the cameras caught a glowing orb moving smoothly across the sky toward the mesa. To their surprise, it didn't just fade away or blink out. It seemed to pass into the solid rock, as if the mesa itself had swallowed it whole, or it just dived right in. The team immediately reviewed the footage, slowing it down and analyzing every frame. The orb's light remained steady and it looked like it had a controlled movement, unlike a reflection or a bug near the lens. It didn't behave like anything they had ever seen before. When they had checked the thermal and infrared cameras, the readings didn't match anything normal, such as a drone, aircraft, or a meteor. The object seemed to give off its own type of energy, but didn't produce any heat or sound that they could detect. It also appeared to have a mind of its own, almost as if it knew exactly where it was going. They kept searching for answers. The scientists discussed several theories. Some wondered if it could be some type of plasma energy or a form of unknown natural phenomenon, while others thought it might be related to the strange magnetic fields and radiation spikes often found around the mesa. A few questioned whether the orb could be some kind of advanced technology or a sign of opening within the mesa, possibly a hidden chamber or even a gateway of some kind. The unusual data and unexplained readings are very anomalous, and we have no idea what's going on. Now, Civillian Orb UAP Sightings. Now, I do want to cover these as well, even if I don't find them as credible as the military ones. Mostly because your regular everyday person might identify a satellite or a flock of birds as a UAP, which does happen from time to time, but there are some from civilians that make me question what these objects they've captured actually are. These objects move in ways that are either not like satellites or do not use any kind of wings that are flapping, are visible in any way, or flickering at night at all. Just a regular orb moving mysteriously. Now, these sightings from this person happen in downtown Edmonton, Alberta, in Canada. Now, this experiencer actually captures a lot of what seem to be like UAPs on camera. Now, this object seemed to be a row of lights, around 6 or so, that moved in a mathematical way, and it spun, which is really, really weird. Now, that's weird because I don't think any Starlink satellites, as far as I know, do that, or any satellites for that matter. He didn't record that exact one, but the same type of objects did come back, but it didn't spin, so it is a little bit different, but I still think it's the same objects. So it's still really weird, as they aren't in a line like Starlink. They are sort of sideways, so it's a little bit different and still really mysterious. This next object is sort of like the one I just showed. Not the row of lights one, but the one that was just one ball of light and just zipped off somewhere unknown. This one sort of does the same thing, captured by the same person in Canada. This is one orb-like UAP object that moves slowly at first, but is changing direction. No wings flapping, and no flickering at night, and is only one object. It starts to move from left to right on the screen, as you can see here, and then it stops, and what looks to be a satellite moves back and then changes direction and zips off into the unknown. Now, in my opinion, that is really strange, and we don't have anything that can do that. Okay, yes, I've already covered this UAP footage in my best UFO footage compilation, but since it has to do with orbs and a civilian recording it, I thought I'd talk about it a short bit since it's pretty compelling to me. So, in the early 1950s, two famous UFO films were captured in the western United States, one in Montana and one in Utah. The first filmed by Nick M. in Great Falls, Montana in the 1950s, or in 1950, showed two shiny disc-like objects moving across the sky. Mariana claimed the missing first frames showed the discs spinning, but the Air Force said they were most likely reflections from nearby jets. But civilian researchers disagreed, arguing the movement didn't match any known aircraft. Now, this is where the orb part comes in. 2 years later, in Tremont, Utah, a Navy photographer, Delba Newhouse, filmed several bright silver orbs drifting silently across the sky. The Navy's lab couldn't identify the objects, and at first the Air Force called it one of the best UFO films ever shot. Later though, scientists suggested the lights could have been seagulls reflecting sunlight. Although that could have made sense, there is no flapping here at all, seen on the camera, even if it is reflecting the sunlight. They don't even move or behave like birds, and aren't even in groups. Both films were studied closely by the Air Force and other experts who analyzed them frame by frame, measuring the light, the motion, and the speed. Investigators compared the footage with local flight paths, weather reports, and bird behavior, trying to find a clear match. Some scientists said that the light and the movements were too steady to be birds or balloons, while others argued that the simple reflections or camera limitations created the illusions of flying discs or orbs. In the end, no one actually has an answer right now. The Montana and Utah UAP footage remain one of the most compelling footage ever made. In the end, in my opinion, the Montana and Utah UAP footage remain a very strange encounter that is still unexplained. Now, this is a very interesting sighting that was posted on Reddit over 4 years ago, seen by two people and captured during a very cloudy day. A Reddit user named Brad McGash saw this object on March 10th with someone else with him, another witness. This is an interesting sighting. It's a white orb in the sky that moves back and forth, disappears and reappears in the sky, and doesn't have any sound to it either. I honestly just want you guys to watch it because it is weird, although there could be a few mundane explanations for it which I will get to later, but anyways, here's the video.
It is, watch. Ready?
Where's the UFO?
Okay, let's get some context.
I don't see a UFO.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, look at that.
Oh, wait,
Isn't
zoom
it
in, zoom in.
strange?
Go like all the way.
No, shoot it. I have a telescope.
That's a UFO?
Yeah, it's a UFO.
It's like an actual UFO? An
Let's see.
alien
Holy
UFO?
cow. It's going up and down.
It isn't moving.
Yeah, it's not moving. Maybe it's a satellite. The satellites don't do that.
What is it?
Holy cow.
Oh, it just... What?
That's a UFO.
Oh! Yo! Are there aliens in it?
There's definitely aliens in it. Holy cow. Oh no. Maybe it's a drone. I don't know if drones do that.
Drones... But that drone's all the way in space.
Holy cow.
No
Look at
one's
that.
flying a drone.
Well,
Also, it's literally in the sky.
yeah, let's see what happens. Let's see if it goes back on.
It's a literal drone.
You think it's gonna go on?
It's
Should we
not a
count to
drone,
10?
It's a spaceship.
Does your mama come from space? Uh-oh. Is that it? No.
Who's driving a drone? There's no explanation. Oh,
Where is it? Where's it?
It's there, it's there. Oh, it just turned off and it just went back on and then it just turned off.
Awesome.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
What?
Now you can go to your daddy and say,
It's not a drone. It's an actual UFO.
yep. Well, maybe it could be a drone.
Wait.
Let's see what happens. That's the problem.
Zoom into
The video.
and then you can see what's inside.
Oh no.
Yeah.
All right.
This UAP sighting recorded by researchers that Chris Little covered on his channel back in March is one of the stranger and more interesting cases caught on camera, even if it's a little blurry. Around 3 o'clock or 3:30 in the morning, researchers monitored the ocean through a sealed camera and noticed a glowing orb hovering over the water. They quickly ran to the beach with night vision and infrared cameras to record it. What makes this so unusual is how the light behaved. It hovered low above the water, shining brightly and reflecting off the surface, but no other structure could be seen. If it were a boat, the camera's thermal imaging would have easily picked up the rest of the vessel. Same with a drone. Yet there was no heat signature, no shape, and nothing on radar. Just a floating sphere of light. The team used thermal and optical zoom to double check, but the results remained the same. There was no physical object attached to the light. It wasn't giving off any detectable heat, which rules out something mechanical like a drone or a boat engine. Stayed in the same spot for more than an hour and a half, which is far longer than most commercial drones would stay in flight, especially in the cold conditions they described. Then it weirdly vanished. Even stranger, while watching through the IR cameras, several smaller orbs appeared suddenly around it. 4, then 5, then 6 or 7, clustering information above the main orb. The researchers noticed these smaller lights seemed to shift between visible and infrared spectrums, meaning they could appear and disappear depending on the type of camera used. The kind of spectral shifting isn't something ordinary drones can do. The team even discussed how for these orbs to avoid showing up on thermal imaging, they would have to perfectly match the background temperature for the ocean and air, something beyond capable of our current technology. Although this sighting is weird, anomalous, and fascinating because it behaves like no known man-made object, it doesn't match the behavior or energy limits of drones, lacks any physical structure with thermal traces of a boat, and even seems capable of switching between visible and invisible spectrums. It doesn't even act like a spotlight. Whatever it was, it left behind a clear, visible, and infrared traces, but no logical explanation. I do want you to guys watch some of it just on your own. This is that sighting.
Okay, so there it is in the distance. We'll zoom in on it. We get 60 times zoom. In the sea.
Okay.
You see it casting out its reflection. It's a little bouncy jerky, but
It looks white, kind of reflecting low over the water.
yes, yep. And this was visible. This object was visible. It was very bright.
Yeah, you can see it clearly reflecting down. So if there was a boat there or something, you would obviously see the rest of the boat. Or
Yes, and we actually used the thermal camera. We said this could be by itself. We wanted to see if there was structure behind there, if there actually was a light off a boat, and we had no thermal image of anything. It was just a light, just a ball of light. Yeah, nothing in the thermal camera. Yeah, and we actually also look at radar. We had a contact on radar and just a ball-like mass.
because with the thermal, you can see a boat pretty easily. I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, we would see a thermal silhouette of a boat. Right, and remember that the thermal cameras also has optical zoom. It's 30 times optical zoom. Yeah, so we would easily see that boat. Yeah, so we could easily see the silhouette of the boat.
Okay, so you just saw like the orb, just the light, and then the reflection off the water.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Here's again.
How long was it sitting there?
It was out there for at least an hour and a half.
Wow.
And then it disappeared. But the interesting thing, it wasn't there by itself. When we were using the IR cameras, other objects popped into view. They suddenly popped in. And it was maybe 4, then it was 5, then it was 6 or 7 of them. And they were in a cluster around this particular object or above it.
This is another interesting encounter with a UAP. The same team of independent researchers captured a truly strange orb-like UAP near an area known as Demakra Point. The footage shows what appears to be a rotating volatile object, something like a geometric multi-sided shape, moving near a low cloud layer. What makes this so interesting is that the object seems to be illuminating the clouds above it, almost as if it were giving off its own light rather than reflecting something else. The witnesses, including Robin Moses and another observer named Donna, watched the object with binoculars and confirmed that it was visible to the naked eye, and not just through infrared cameras. As the video continues, the object appears to descend from the clouds, then merge with another light or object below it. Once they come together, both objects synchronize their rotation, spinning in the same pattern, and then rise back into the cloud layer. The researchers noted that the cloud base was around 2,000 feet, which allowed them to estimate the distance and size of the object using range finding and triangulation methods. They determined that the object was roughly 2 to 4 meters in diameter, about the size of a small car, and was located only about a half a mile away from their observation point. What makes this event anomalous is that no signs of conventional aircraft or drones were detected. The object had no wings, no navigation lights, no anti-collision strobes, and no visible structure typical of airplanes or drones. The team also dismissed the idea that it could have been a reflection or landing lights from an aircraft because the intensity and movement of the lights didn't match. Airplane lights, which are also very bright, about 600 watts, would have been easily visible in the footage, yet nothing like that was seen. Instead, the object surface glinted and reflected light in many directions, similar to a disco ball, and displayed what they described as a, quote, kaleidoscope of colors, end quote. Behavior not characteristic of any known drone or plane lighting system. The merging of two separate glowing shapes and then moved together in unison is definitely very confusing. No known aircraft or drone system can perform a maneuver like that, especially at such low altitude and in a synchronized spinning motion. The fact that the object appeared to enter the clouds smoothly without disturbing them also challenges the explanation of it being solid machinery, since aircraft or drones typically leave trails or cause a visible disturbance at that altitude.
Alright, so there's a rotating polyhedron, and this was in an area of Robert Moses called Democrat Point, and you'll see an object that looks like it's illuminating the clouds above this object, and you'll see the object actually comes down from the clouds. It doesn't actually break through the cloud layer, but these two objects seem to merge, and both they synchronize their rotation, and you'll see both of them going up into the cloud layers. Now the cloud base was 2,000 feet.
Oh, quite low.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing right there. And this is IR?
This is IR. This is IR.
Yeah.
But this was actually visible. It was also visible to the eyes. Me and Donna were watching with the binoculars. It was pretty amazing. Let's do this. Let me open it up.
And could you tell the distance on that object? Or how could you know distance? You could tell by the clouds.
Yeah, we could tell by the cloud-based data. The altitude was 2,000 feet, and we knew approximately where the object was. So we were able to use the rangefinders and do some triangulation. And based on the camera's field of view, we actually got a size, the distance and size of the object.
So what was the answer?
So the object size was between 2 and 4 meters, like what we were measuring. With every other object that we were seeing out there, anywhere between 2 and 4 meters in diameter.
So car-sized, essentially.
Exactly, yeah.
Do you think it could have been like one of those car-sized drones that they kept talking about?
This looked more like the Orbs, because this was definitely a polyhedral shape. It was a rotating polyhedral shape. Right.
This encounter took place at around 2:30 in the morning on a remote beach near Robert Moses State Park, a location far from the city lights and noise. A group of the same UAP researchers were on site when they recorded a strange glowing orb hovering above the sand. The object gave off a reddish-orange glow that rotated and reflected brightly off the beach below it. This was not a faint light in the distance. It was a strong enough light to illuminate the sand around it. The witnesses described it as appearing to rise from the ground before stopping about 10 to 15 feet in the air, where it stayed for a while, slowly moving from side to side while spinning. The area where the sighting took place makes it even more interesting. Demarca Point is a quiet, isolated stretch of beach with almost no artificial light, meaning it's an ideal spot for clear observations. The group knew exactly where the orb appeared, noting a nearby safety barrel that gave them a way to measure its position and size later. When they returned, they found the object had been hovering just beyond the barrel and was roughly 2 to 4 meters across. The light's reflections on the sand confirmed that it wasn't far away or just a camera artifact. It was physically present and bright enough to affect its surroundings. What makes the sighting so unusual is how the object behaved. A typical drone has blinking navigation lights, makes mechanical sounds, and moves in sharp, controlled directions. This orb showed none of those signs. It moved silently, stayed steady in one place, and glowed evenly without flickering or flashing. The object of the light and its slow movement side to side didn't match how drones operate. Its glow also didn't come from a spotlight or beam. It looked like the entire object itself was emitting light. That kind of consistent brightness, especially without any visible structure or noise, doesn't fit with any known aircraft or drone technology that we have. The team also noticed 2 more glowing orbs appearing in the distance during the same sighting. When the camera zoomed in on them, they seemed to disappear instantly, almost as if they were aware of being observed. That adds another strange mystery to the encounter. Lights that vanish on command or move in ways that appear responsive to observation don't behave like normal drones, boats, or any known aerial technology. Combined with the first orb's hovering and rotating behavior, it gives the whole event a sense of intelligence or control that can't easily be explained, otherwise anomalous. I'm going to show you the whole sighting right now, so this is that encounter.
Yeah, this occurred at about 2:30 in the morning, John? Yeah, this was 2:30 in the morning in an area called Democrat Point at Robert Moses State Park. So it's an area of beach, which is on almost like a peninsula out there. And there's a channel that opens up to the ocean. And on this area of beach, 2:30 in the morning, we recorded a starburst, an object that seemed to have rotation. It looked like it was an orange reddish glow to it, and it rotated over a beach area. It would come up from the ground, sit at around 15 feet, and just move from side to side. But you could see the rotation. You could see the reflection of light on the beach itself. You could see that where it was reflecting light back off the sand. And I think there were 3 of these objects, right? There was, yeah. Okay, let me start it. Okay, so these are cones. This is a parking field. Now, John's zooming in on this object. Pause it a minute, John.
Wow.
So what you're seeing, so if you're zooming across there's a parking area with the cones. It was coned off during the day. But at night, like I said, there was beyond that parking field, there's a beach area. And what he's zooming in on is this starburst orb of light that's rotating, and it's casting a tremendous reflection on the ground, right, on the sand. Yeah, so you have 2 parts to this. You have the starburst, the object itself, then you have the light underneath it, which is casting this reflection on the sand.
Wow, that's amazing.
And it kind of looks like a rotating starburst.
What was Mick West's argument for this one?
He hasn't commented on these other videos. Just the one that was easy picking fruit, I guess. Yeah.
This one seems pretty insane because if it was hanging on something, I mean.
Yeah, it's unusual, and I'm gonna lighten it up a little bit. Beyond unusual. There's no, I don't know. I can't find an explanation for it. Yeah. I'm gonna turn it up bright a bit because I want to show you something that's right in the foreground with this object. So I lightened it up for a reason. All right, so you're gonna see right in front of the object. There's actually a barrel. There's a barrel sitting right in front of it. It's a safety barrel. And the object is just beyond the barrel on an area of beach. So we know exactly where this object was. And judging by the barrel's maybe 5 feet tall, maybe 3 feet wide.
Okay.
And the barrel. And you can tell that object is pretty large.
Okay, cool. So you went down there afterwards, I'm hoping.
Yes, and we took measurements. We actually took rangefinder measurements, and of the distance and where it was, exactly where it was. Right. And we calculated also that the object size was probably about the same thing, about 2 to 4 meters. In size. And it's interesting because we're wondering what they're doing. One hovering over we haven't shown the one over the water yet, but hovering over the beach. I'm not sure what it was doing there.
And quite low, right? It looked like it was 3 meters up, maybe.
Yeah, it's just around. It was under 15 feet. Yeah.
That was crazy. And that was a regular optical camera, it looked like?
Yeah. Yes.
I was on routine patrol and I came up to this intersection and I looked south and I saw a bright light just over the center of the roadway. My first impression was that maybe it was a semi with one headlight broken out, and then it dawned on me that the light was too big around and too intense for an ordinary headlight. I began observing the area of the Arrow Diner, which is where I was sent, the call I was sent on. I pull out. When I did, I observed 3 lights. One light, one solid light, another solid light, and a rotating light on the bottom. There was really no structure to be seen. They were just like suspended out in the middle of the Flintlock restaurant parking lot. Then it began to gain height and headed in the easterly direction up over the trees, and again it stayed for a few seconds in that position over the top of the building, and then it just went directly down.
On the cold, quiet night of November 22nd, 1997, just after midnight, 2 on-duty police officers were patrolling near the small village of Brandenburg in the Hereford area of England when something unusual caught their attention in the sky. It was around 12:04 a.m. when they saw a round object glowing with a dim green light moving across the sky. It didn't look like a normal aircraft, and the way it moved immediately stood out to them. It was definitely anomalous. At first, the officers thought it could be a plane or maybe a meteor, but the object didn't behave like either. It moved slowly towards the west, staying steady rather than darting quickly like a shooting star. After traveling some distance, it began to descend in a calm, steady way, not tumbling or flickering as something falling from the sky normally would. They could tell it wasn't a star or a flare because the light stayed consistent in green, not bright orange or white, and it made no sound at all. The officers rolled down their windows to listen, expecting to hear a faint hum of a plane engine, the buzz of a helicopter, or maybe the hiss of a flare, but there was nothing. The night stayed completely silent. The light from the object was soft, glowing faintly, and didn't cast reflections or beams like a flashlight or spotlight. It looked solid, with a round shape and a consistent color, and it seemed to move under control rather than drifting with the wind. Because it was 1997, the idea of it being a drone didn't make sense either. Civilian drones weren't common at the time, and even the few that existed were large, loud, and not capable of long, steady flights with a glowing green light. The officers ruled out weather balloons too, since they usually rise instead of fall and don't give off light of their own. Balloons also move with the wind, often wobbling or spinning, but this object stayed smooth and straight until it disappeared behind trees or into low clouds. The officers stayed at the location for a while, waiting to see if anything would crash or if other lights would appear, but the sky returned to normal. When they reported the event to their control room, it was officially logged and later appeared in the UK Ministry of Defence's 1997 UFO report list, as well as in the PR UFOs police database, which collects cases from officers who have witnessed strange objects in the sky while on duty. No wreckage or debris was ever found, and no other residents reported hearing a crash that night. The police witnesses were confident in what they saw, a round, green glowing object moving calmly before descending. It wasn't a plane, drone, meteor, or balloon. It was something that didn't match any familiar object or aircraft they'd encountered before. Because of their training and credibility, their report makes one of the more interesting police sightings logged in the late 1990s. This sighting is very anomalous in my opinion. This is another interesting encounter with a blue orb that the police saw. Blue orbs are interesting because of what Colin Kellier had said about them while in the program OSAP. He said this in a frightened way. Quote, "There are multiple different types of orbs. Blue, yellow, white, red, all had different purposes. The blue were not to be messed with. They caused injuries to people and incinerated animals. They had profound negative effects on people's health. If you see a blue orb, run like hell," end quote. On the night of March 14th, 1993, just before 4 a.m., 2 police officers were on patrol near Bringington, Humberside, a coastal town in eastern England. As they drove along, they noticed something unusual in the sky, a blue, metallic-looking object that was immediately seen by the officers. It moved in a steady path toward the south-southwest, unlike any ordinary aircraft or light they had seen before. The officers continued to watch as the object suddenly stopped and hovered in mid-air. It didn't make any sound, and there was no blinking lights like a plane or a helicopter. The hovering behavior, combined with its metallic appearance and the solid blue glow, made it very clear to the officers that this was not something ordinary. They were able to observe it carefully for a couple of minutes, noting the smooth, controlled motion and the color of light. After about 2 to 3 minutes, the officers reported the sighting to their police control center, and also contacted the Coast Guard. The report was recorded in official records, including the UK Ministry of Defence UFO files, giving the sighting formal documentation. Despite the detailed observation, no physical evidence or traces of the object were ever found, unfortunately. What makes this case stand out in my opinion is that it was witnessed by trained police officers who know how to identify aircraft, weather phenomenon, and other ordinary lights. The silent hovering, metallic look and blue glow did not match any conventional explanation, such as a plane, helicopter, balloon, satellite, or meteor. Because of this, the encounter is considered a strong example of a police-reported UFO sighting involving a blue orb-like object in my opinion. Even decades later, this UAP sighting is still not explained, and remains unknown. Now I want to get to my own personal UAP encounter with an orb. Now I don't know for sure if it's an orb, but in my opinion it looked like an orb and didn't look like anything else in my opinion, so I just want to put it in here just because in my opinion that's what it was. On one Monday night around 9 o'clock to 9:30 p.m, I'm not sure exactly how long ago this was, I think like a month or two ago. I was driving home from tennis like I usually do in upstate New York. Everything felt normal until I noticed something in the sky that caught my attention. A bright orb-like thing that seemed out of place. At first, I thought it was just a star because it wasn't moving and it had the same steady glow, but something about it seemed out of place in my opinion. So when I went back to tennis the next time, I looked for it again, but it was gone. At first, I did try to think of a couple of explanations that could have been mundane or whatever. Maybe it was some kind of machinery light or construction equipment in the distance because there were some buildings over there. But when I looked again on later nights, there was nothing in that spot that could have caused it. I even considered the possibility of a drone. I was in my car at the time, so I couldn't hear any sound, which made it harder to tell. However, most drones have red and green navigation lights and this light didn't. It was just a single very bright white glow. Although I know some drones use white lights at night, but this light seemed pretty different to me, although it could have been. The brightness stood out the most in my opinion. It didn't blink or change color, and it was so bright that for a while I did think it was a star, but after a while I just didn't think that was the case. I honestly just wondered what it actually could be, and to this day I still don't know what I saw. It could have been something ordinary like a drone or something, as I know some of them do use white lights, but that white light was just so bright, I don't even know what it was. I honestly wish I could have taken a photo or like a video or something, but I didn't really have a chance to because I was on the highway and I couldn't really get out or anything. But to this day, this is my encounter with an Orb-like UAP, and it's still unknown in my opinion. NASA has released a paper that seems sort of interesting. It could be an explanation for some of these Orb-like UAP sightings. It's not 100%, but it's definitely a possibility. The NASA-related research paper called, quote, Extraterrestrial Life in the Thermosphere, Plasmas, UAP, Pre-Life, Force State of Matter, end quote, dives into one of the most interesting possibilities in space science. That some of the glowing objects seen around Earth might not just be some random energy, but organized plasma forms that behave almost like living things. The paper focuses on the thermosphere, which is a layer of Earth's atmosphere located more than 200 miles above Earth's surface. This region is full of charged particles, where solar radiation interacts with Earth's magnetic field to create auroras and other bright phenomena. According to the researchers, NASA space shuttle missions such as STS-48, STS-75, and STS-80 have recorded multiple instances of luminous moving objects that seem to defy the usual explanation of space debris, ice crystals, or reflections. These, quote, plasma entities, end quote, move in anomalous ways. They change direction, even if there's no spacecraft near them. Let's dive deep into this question of plasmoids and if it's even possible. The authors describe plasma as the fourth state of matter, a state beyond solid, liquid, and gas. In this state, atoms lose or gain electrons, becoming charged particles that can move freely and respond strongly to electromagnetic forces. Because of this, plasma behaves in complex and often unpredictable ways, sometimes forming stable, glowing shapes or patterns. The researchers note that the plasma objects observed in NASA's cameras took on many forms, from orbs and rings to spiral-like clouds, and moved in ways that didn't match the motion of ordinary particles. Some appear to speed up suddenly, come to a complete stop, or turn sharply at 90-degree angles. These motions seem intentional or at least controlled by some form of internal structure or biological entity. The authors argue that such characteristics suggest a kind of order within these plasmas, similar to how living things seem to move with intention. So I've usually decided to not cover Orb-like UAPs before, because I find them not as interesting as like some of the actual ones where you can actually see the craft themselves, such as the Turkish UAP or any dislike or Tic Tacs or anything of credible nature. The Orbs ones just seem like they could be anything, but the ones I'm giving you now are really interesting to me, and not just one like weird orbs in the distance that could be balloons or whatever. There are a lot of orbs that are balloons, Chinese lanterns, but I tried to stay away from the ones that I thought could be those, and I gave ones that people have analyzed, some from the military, and some that just look really weird even from civilians. But there are some civilian ones I do want to go over that could possibly be explained, like the one where there's two people and the person is pointing his phone up at the clouds where the light is. At first I thought he could be faking it and it could be like a laser pointer or something, but that kind of rules like everything out, because later on during the video you can see what looks to be the laser pointer and the object at the same time, but I'm pretty sure they're just that laser pointer is just a reflection right next to the light. So honestly, I don't think he was acting weird in the video, but I think that's just because he's high. I think someone said that in one of the comments in the Reddit post that he was or whatever, or that he seemed like it at least, and that's why he's acting like that, not because he's faking it. But I think another possibility is it could be a drone. Drones don't always have red and green lights, although that's the most common. At night, when you want to be seen by either drones or other aircraft or anything, I think you have to have a white light on it so others can see you. I think this is definitely a possibility, but the weird thing is it's just like blinking in and out, so that's why I wasn't like completely sure. I don't know why it would be blinking in and out like that. Do drones like do that? Is there like a special command that you have to follow that you have to do that? I'm not a drone expert, so I'm not sure about that. And these other orbs I would like to rule out as like balloons or something like that, but honestly I can't do that. Like the most interesting ones to me are the ones with the independent researchers, even though it's probably some of the worst footage. It's not terrible footage, but it's probably some of the worst footage in this video. It's pretty decent, but this is most interesting to me because there's no explanation that I can give, like especially for the one on the beach. You could see it reflecting like on the beach. It's just a glowing ball of light, and it doesn't look like a spotlight like the one, or even like a drone like the one we were just covering with the other civilians recording in the sky. It doesn't even look like that. It looks just like a ball of light, and you can see it reflecting onto the beach, so you could see it hovering. It's not a boat or anything like that either. You would see the rest of the boat. And it's just very weird, and they've captured multiple. You can go on Chris Leto's channel. He's covered it all. So it's around an hour long. So shout out to Chris Leto. I got their footage from his channel, so shout out to him. But yeah, a lot of these are quite interesting. Even the police ones, I did want to get some police encounters in here. I didn't get too much footage for the police encounters, only unrelated footage that could go along with their encounter, like the Blue Orb one, because those encounters didn't actually have videos recorded with them. And there's barely any videos of Blue Orbs, except for the one I have and that I put on there. And I think that there's probably a few others videos of Blue Orbs that I'm missing that I just can't find, and it's definitely possible. Because Eyes on Cinema is where I got some of the police officers' footage and everything of them talking. And they also have some pretty good footage as well of UFOs. So I could have gotten some from there maybe. I just couldn't find any. And the Mosul Orb is pretty interesting. A lot of people thought it was a puddle at first, and then it turned out it wasn't, because it was just a screenshot, and then it turned into a video that was released later on. People think it's a balloon, but the balloon theory doesn't match because of the way people analyze it, and it would be going faster than the wind. And as far as I know, balloons do not do that. And the USS Omaha, Mick West says that it's not actually going into the water. I think it's just going beyond the horizon or something. If that were the case, it would be getting smaller, and it doesn't do that. If I'm wrong, correct me or whatever, but it's not doing that. It does seem to actually go into the water at least, and it's a sphere. It doesn't look like a plane on infrared or whatever. It's just a very interesting case to me. So there's none really I could actually debunk except for one of them, and it's not really debunking because there's still some interesting things about it, like the blinking in and out. But I just wanted to have my final thoughts about these videos, because orbs are the most frustrating and interesting things about the UAP phenomenon, in my opinion. I don't like to cover it that much because, as I said, it could literally be anything, but if you actually analyze some of the videos, they get really interesting. And even John Kozlowski, the new director of Arrow, has talked about glowing orbs. I actually haven't found any good videos of orangey glowing orbs yet. There was one, but it turned out to be a balloon. But I am trying to find some others that aren't balloons or Chinese lanterns or anything like that. There is one that's interesting that I do have, that I posted it on my TikTok, but I'm not 100% convinced on it. It could be a drone for that one, but it's just these other ones are really weird. Tim Phillips has also talked about glowing orbs, orange glowing orbs as well, not just orbs, glowing orange orbs, like with a fiery hue. But as I said, I haven't found any good videos with that type of description. These are the best I could get for this documentary right now, and this is just my thoughts. What these actually are, and even actually the NASA videos are pretty interesting as well. Some of them could be ice particles, like the one with the tether incident, but those ice particles are just really big for like no reason. Why are they that big? Some of them like appear out of nowhere as well, and it's just really interesting. And some of the other ones, as you saw on the STS-48, they changed direction. There's another one that I didn't show on here, but it changes direction without being near any spacecraft or anything. It's just being caught by the ISS, I'm pretty sure. I wish I showed it, but I'm already like 40 or so minutes in, and I wanted to end it now because it's getting a little bit too long. But I just think these videos of orbs are some of the most interesting orbs I've seen. But if there are any more interesting videos of orbs, let me know, and I would like to take a look at it actually and try to analyze it, and maybe send it to a couple of people if they can analyze it as well. But that is just my thoughts about the orbs. Are they plasmas? Honestly, I think it's a possibility. Are they ETs? I'm not sure. I think they are at least non-human intelligence. I'm not sure what kind of non-human intelligence they are. Are they plasmas? Are they ETs? Are they from another dimension? Time-traveling humans? I'm not really sure. But I think they are at least non-human intelligence. The ones that are actual UAPs, and not just spotlight in the sky. So that is my final thoughts about the Orb UAPs that I've seen here on the video and analyzed at least a little bit. And that is Anomaly Files. Peace out.